Welcome, Dr. Saroj Dubey. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Annapurna.
Thank you. I think, Lata, over to you.
Thank you so much. Welcome, Dr. Suraj Dubey. So I welcome all of you to the masterclass of EI and mindfulness. And Dr. Saroj is going to take this class for us. Introducing him, Dr. Saroj Dubey is a senior gastroenterologist consultant in Delhi NCR with a deep interest in the mind-body connection. He is a passionate mindfulness practitioner since many years and has attended many workshops and retreats. Over the last few years, he has started taking mindfulness classes and workshops for his patients and friends. He has a special interest in the application of mindfulness to emotions and thought. And we are going to learn
थोड़ा
how his mindfulness
unstable है,
practice has
unstable है,
helped,
Lata.
how his mindfulness practice is helping his patients to get cured, to get healthy. So over to you, Dr. Dubey.
Thank you so much, Lata, and thank you, Annapurna, and thank you all the organizers of the summit. I hope I'm audible. I hope I'm properly audible.
Thank you, sir. Yes,
Yeah,
sir,
you
you're
are.
audible, sir.
Okay, so can I have the slides
Yes, sir.
just for a second?
Yes, sir.
So, as Lata said, that I'm a gastroenterologist and endoscopist practicing in Delhi NCR, and many of you may be wondering what exactly am I doing here in this summit of emotional intelligence and mindfulness. Well, actually, my practice of mindfulness and meditation started many years ago. And over a period of time, I found tremendous benefits and a lot of well being and productivity after doing mindfulness. Then, as you know, in gastroenterology, we have a lot of patients of irritable bowel syndrome and dyspepsia who have underlying stress and anxiety as their underlying cause, and unless that is treated they can not really progress. So I used to tell them that, why don't you start mindfulness, why don't you start meditation, it'll help you. Then they would come back after some time and say, Dr. Saab, I tried, but the rule, I'm not very clear how to do it. And, it's very difficult and all that. So then I started taking some small kind of workshops for my patients and all. And, I saw the benefit of that. Then some friends and, other colleagues also started approaching me. So over the last few years, I have been taking small workshops, sometimes some Zoom seminars and all also. And that is what I'd like to share in my talk today about how mindfulness can help us, can increase our emotional awareness, and kind of I'd like to take you through a practical experiential overview. So, can I have the next slide? Okay. So, as in the beautiful talk by Robert, also, he was defining. So, mindfulness can be defined as being aware of the present moment as it is in a non judgmental manner. Now, few things I would like to highlight. When we talk about being aware or awareness, we would think that it is quite obvious. We are all aware, we are listening to you, we are interacting. So, how is there any doubt that we are aware? But all of us are sitting in front of our laptops or mobiles. And if we really come to think of it, how many of us are aware that we are sitting? Or how many of us are aware that we are listening? So, mindfulness is a practice, a skill in which we increase our self awareness of whatever we are doing from moment to moment. The other point which we begin to notice when we become more mindful is that there is often a resistance to the present moment. Something seems to be missing. And as Eckhart Tolle says, we use the present moment as a stepping stone to some other future moment. We feel that, okay, this moment has just to be bypassed for some other moment to come. And mindfulness is actually a practice in which we develop an inner acceptance to the present moment just as it is. This does not mean that you cannot do anything. For example, if I am ill or there is some disease, then obviously I will do whatever I have to rectify it, to treat it, to diagnose it. But the first thing I have to do is to accept what is happening, that I have a disease. And another important point we begin to notice when we become more mindful is that how disconnected our mind is from the body. Now that may sound a bit weird, our mind is over here and our body is over here. But actually, we are so often lost in compulsive thinking and lost in our minds and planning and plotting that we are very often not in our body. We are most of the time we are lost in our thoughts and head. And in fact, there is a Jeremy Joyce talks about a fictional character, Mr. Duffy, and she says that Mr. Duffy lived a short distance away from his body. Now, that may seem funny at first, but actually, that is a story for many of us. We are lost in our minds and thoughts, and we are never really in the present moment, which is our body. And mindfulness, in that way, is an invitation to completely inhabit our body and be in the present moment. Next, please. No, the previous one. Yeah. So what is not mindfulness? There are a lot of many myths also about mindfulness. So mindfulness is not positive thinking or visualization. It is not going into the future and thinking of how things should be, but it is first of all accepting how it is, the isness of things. And neither is it any, kind of a blissed out or state of trance, or, kind of where you blank your mind without thoughts. We are going to have thoughts. That is a process of the mind, and we can never stop it. But we don't need to get unnecessarily lost in our thoughts. So we are there in the moment with the things as they are, and we lay open the welcome mat for whatever experience is arising. Next. This quote by Viktor Frankl, it's so brilliant, and I would say it kind of summarizes what is the relation between mindfulness and emotional intelligence and emotional awareness. Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. And in our response lies our growth and freedom. So this is the crux of, I would say, mindfulness and emotional awareness, that whenever some inciting event occurs, can I have the next slide also? There is always that space between whatever event happens and the way we are going to respond or react. And when we practice mindfulness, we realize that there is increased space between our thoughts, between emotions, and between feelings. Everything is not as clustered as we, kind of imagine it to be. And when we practice mindfulness, we develop inner space, which is manifested in the form of kind of, inner stillness. Mindfulness allows us to be aware of our emotions and to stay with it. We can stay with the rawness of the feeling without any need to immediately vent it out or, suppress it, which we normally do. So this is the benefit, and I'll be talking more about it in the subsequent slides. Next, please. And this there's a very nice article by Perriot, who talks about the benefits of mindfulness meditation on emotional intelligence, general self-efficacy, and how mindfulness meditation helps manifest emotional intelligence. So many of you may be knowing about it, the three ways. It improves your ability to comprehend your own emotions, being aware of it, and helps you learn how to recognize the emotions of people around you, and strengthens your ability to govern and control your emotions and how to respond. So mindfulness improves a person's ability to use their emotions effectively, and it helps them determine which emotions are beneficial for certain activities. Next, please. And next slide, please. Like we know Daniel Goleman, who is kind of the father of emotional intelligence and mindfulness. Can I have the next slide, please? Or can I change from here? Yeah, okay. So Daniel Goleman talks about the main pillars of emotional intelligence, which is self-awareness, where we identify our emotions and the impact it may have on others. Self management, understanding the triggers and how to deal with them. Social awareness, by understanding the feelings of others and being more empathetic. And relationship management, how to help in managing relations. Next, please. And when we talk about, again, Robert had given us an overview. I'll just spend a few couple of minutes. Mindfulness practice, if we can, kind of summarize it, it consists of a body scan, which can be a prelude to our practice, or a kind of practice by itself, where we are bringing our awareness to each part of the body, lightly and gently, noticing where there are any contractions, and just kind of giving a relaxed awareness to each part of the body. And mindfulness of breath. This is, of course, the main mindfulness method which is taught all over, where we are just bringing our attention to the breathing, the normal breathing, allowing whatever is happening to come and go. Thoughts can come and go, feelings and emotions can come and go, but we are moment to moment being with our breath. And also, mindfulness can be anchored by any of our senses. Many people don't know this. They feel that it's only either the breath or a body scan, but each of our sense organs, like hearing, seeing, sight, tasting, can be a very powerful anchor for mindfulness. In fact, I am very fond of using the mindfulness of sounds, especially like since I'm commuting from one hospital to another. And when I'm there sitting in the back in my car, there's so many, myriad sounds, the traffic sounds, people talking, shouting, the FM. So we can just use those sounds as an anchor to mindfulness, just the way we are using our breath. And the same can be by, a sight, tasting. Mindful tasting and eating is a very important part. Then we have mindfulness of emotions, thoughts, and feelings, which is actually the crux of this topic, and I'll talk about it. And mindfulness without any objects. That is pure awareness. You are just being mindful, being aware in the moment with whatever is happening. Can I have the next slide? So now, when we come to mindfulness of emotions, when we sit in mindfulness meditation or we just sit in awareness, we can see that various thoughts and feelings may come and go. We just sit and notice their impermanent nature. We notice that they are not as dense and heavy as we think they may be. Like initially when I started, I used to feel that emotions and feelings, once they come, they're going to stay there for hours. If you wake up in the morning and feel kind of blue or feel kind of low, then you feel that your whole day is gone, and that is a feeling most of us have. But when we become aware of it and we sit with it, we can see that they come, they take their time, and then they pass off. And when we sit in mindfulness, we make a habit of acknowledging and naming our feelings. We acknowledge it. First, we acknowledge that yes, it is present. If I'm feeling sad, if I'm feeling lonely, we acknowledge rather than suppress it or distract ourselves and avoid feeling it. And then we just gently name our feelings. Okay, this is fear, this is envy, this is anger, this is sadness. We kind of just label our emotions. This process of acknowledging and naming our emotions creates a kind of a distance between the emotions and us. We are over here, and just by naming it, there is a kind of a space created between the emotion. Next slide, please. So, as Dan Siegel, many of you may have heard of him, he's a mindfulness expert and psychiatrist. He had coined the term name it to tame it. So, what happens when we name it? We are getting some distance from it, and it allows us to take a step back. And Matthew Lieberman calls it as affect labeling. And there are studies by the fMRI which shows that labeling of emotion decreases the activity in the brain's emotional center, the amygdala, which is a kind of a center for a fight and flight response. And this allows the frontal brain and the prefrontal cortex, the reasoning part, to have more control. And it has been shown that just by naming it, we can decrease the intensity of the emotions. And in fact, journaling also is so useful because we are kind of, giving it a name and a label, and we are identifying, and that itself can decrease the intensity of the emotions. And by our mindful practice, we are getting that moment of space as reactive emotions are arising. Just in the process of most of the time, what happens is an emotion may come, and it is after a few minutes or even much later that we feel, oh yeah, I should not have reacted that way. But when we are able to be more mindful, just in the process of the emotion arising, we know that it is coming. It may still come and we may still react, but just by the fact that we are identifying it, it breaks that circuit, and we can choose how to respond. Next, please. And it is a kind of metaphor of our hand right in front of our face. If our hand is right in front of our face, we can't see anything. We have to give that much of space. When we just give that distance, then we are able to see things clearly. Initially, what happens when any emotion, when we are overcome by a strong emotion, we are upset, we are angry, we are sad, it feels as if we ourselves become the anger or the emotion. It just has the hand over the face. We can't see anything. It is us. But once we label it and once we give that distance, we realize that, okay, I am here and the emotion is there. So we can say, rather than saying that I am angry or I am sad, we say that, okay, there is anger in me or there is sadness in me. And this can make a lot of difference. So labeling creates a distance. It is as if the emotional hand moves further away from the reasoning mind's eye. And because there is that distance, we don't need to react and lash out immediately. We can connect with the experience and stay with it, and consider what are the possibilities, what are the possible ways we can respond to it. Next, please. So we were talking initially about that quote by Viktor Frankl about the space between emotions and the response. In fact, Tara Goldman calls it the magic quarter second. It may be just a fraction of a second, but that can be enough for us to kind of comprehend, discern, what kind of emotions are arising, and if I say something, what is going to be the immediate reaction. For example, any common example, if suppose you there is something that you want to tell your spouse or partner, whoever, and it may be not very pleasant, you want to discuss something. So rather than immediately venting out or kind of vomiting out, we can wait for the time where it is more conducive, where the other person may be in a more, kind of approachable way, and we can discuss it. We don't need to just, if there is some feeling, if there is some tightness, some contraction, we don't have to just take it out. So that is why this space is so important. And it interrupts the circle of compulsive thinking that fosters anxiety and other painful emotions. And we stay with it. We practice staying with our emotions, and that is why the mindfulness practice doing it, over a period of times, even 5 or 10 minutes. We stay with the discomfort. We don't push it away. We don't say, okay, no, I don't like this. Let me suppress it. No, stay with it. Allow it to come. Allow it to go. And also, we may see that emotions don't carry any subtitle that it is unpleasant or it is bad. Our thoughts and the minds usually give that. I'll talk about it again. Next, please. And now, this was such an important study. If I ask any of you if to remember the last time you had some very strong emotion, you were upset, you were angry, how long were you with that emotion? Probably it may be, hours or even sometimes even days. And so many emotions of bitterness and resentment we carry on for decades. But what did Jill Bolt Taylor say? She is a renowned Harvard neuroanatomist, and she had a stroke involving the left side of her brain. So only the right brain was functioning, which is the kind of the emotional part of the brain. And in her book, My Stroke of Insight, she says, once triggered, the chemical released by my brain surges through my body and causes a physiological experience. And within 90 seconds from the initial trigger, the chemical component of my anger has dissipated from my blood and my automatic response is over. So, actually, the lifespan of an emotion is 90 seconds, 1.5 minutes. But is this our actual experience? Of course not. We feel that it is, it can go on for minutes, is the bare minimum, it is hours. And what happens is that if I choose to remain angry, as she says, then it is because I have chosen to let that circuit continue to run by our stories, by our thinking about it, by our, constantly thinking. If something, for example, if I, phone a close friend and that person, he or she does not respond immediately, what is happening? Okay, there's a feeling that you're kind of upset or this thing, and you can let it go. Okay, it'll be there. But what happens? We keep on thinking, oh, why didn't that person pick up the phone? Maybe he or she is ignoring me. And then we go even deeper. This has always happened to me, and I have been always ignored. We can identify with how our feelings and thoughts go. So mindfulness is the best method to break this circuit. And as modern neuroscience has said, that neurons that fire together wire together. And when we rehearse this looping set of thoughts and emotions, it creates deeply grooved patterns of emotional reactivity, which means that the more you think and rethink about certain experiences, the stronger the memory and those feelings continue to be. Next, please. So this is an important landmark study. And as I said, to feel an emotion, we need to think a thought, which then stimulates an emotional circuit and which creates a physiological response. And if we take this whole circuit, the time is 90 seconds. But what we do is we perpetuate the emotion by our thoughts and storylines. We keep on rehearsing the thoughts, the stories. So mindfulness, the message is drop the storylines. Let it be and connect with the feeling, just the raw feeling. And can we become more aware of this raw physical sensation? And once we do and are not consumed by the storylines, we can see that these emotions can tide over after some time. Next, please. No, previous, I think we had one. Yeah. Another important part of our mindfulness is our resistance to emotions. Whenever any unpleasant emotion comes up, there is an immediate resistance. We feel, why is this happening to me? And also that we feel that we are doing something wrong. Probably if we had done something right, these kind of negative emotions would not be there. And as Robert had also mentioned, emotions by itself are kind of neutral. They are not, unpleasant or bad by itself. It is our thoughts and our feelings which attach this concept of, this is unpleasant, this is bad. So if we accept, as in our initial definition, mindfulness is about accepting our emotions or whatever is happening. So we accept it. Okay, I'm feeling bad, I'm feeling sad, I'm feeling a bit upset. It's okay. And if we don't resist what is happening to me, then we can see that we are in a better place to respond to it. So when we sit in our mindfulness practice, and that is a practice for us to move about, maneuver our day-to-day activities, we accept whatever arises in the present moment without resistance. Next, please. In fact, I would say among the most important equations I, as a doctor, was not taught would be this, that our suffering is equal to the pain or any kind of discomfort, sadness, loneliness, unhappiness, times the resistance. The more our resistance to the sensation is, the more our suffering is. And there have been a lot of studies, in fact, even physical pain. What happens is, when there is pain, there is that raw sensation of pain, some kind of throbbing, a headache. There is a sensation of pain, but there are the secondary sensations of our resistance, our thoughts. Now, why did this pain have to come today? Today is such an important meeting. Now my whole day is going to be spoiled. So these secondary emotions, these secondary reactions actually cause most of the suffering rather than the physical pain itself. And so it's so important to allow and accept whatever is happening. Next, please. So, since we are able to be mindful of our emotions, we notice it and engage more productively. And this, of course, as we can see, it can improve our personal and professional relations and relations at the workplace. Next, please. Now, the same about mindfulness of thoughts. Most of us would be aware of this voice in the head. As Eckhart Tolle says, there's this voice in the head which is constantly labeling, judging, criticizing. You're not good enough. This is not good enough. I'm not smart enough. I'm not beautiful enough. I'm not good enough, whatever it is. So this voice in the head is not us. We identify so strongly that we feel that it is us. But these are just the thoughts in our head. And again, the message is when we are sitting with mindfulness, we can see that thoughts, like emotions, they come and go. And we don't have to identify it. We don't have to believe every thought. Most of our thoughts are due to our conditions and memories since childhood. So thoughts are real. They are, of course, very much real, but they are not necessarily true. This is the biggest message. And what happens is most of the time we think, okay, this thought is there. I'm not good enough. So that is that is the truth. And so that means that I'm not good enough. So we just kind of identify, give that space between us and the thoughts and let it come and go. Next, please. Like many of you may be familiar with this fantastic quote by Suzuki, who's a Zen master. Leave your front door and your back door open. Allow your thoughts to come and go. Just don't serve them tea. And so that is the message when we do mindfulness. Let our thoughts come and go. Don't either don't suppress it or don't go after it. Next, please. And as Eckhart Tolle so beautifully says, you observe your thoughts, see them, but don't believe them. All our thoughts, in fact, many of our thoughts are real but not true. Next, please. And this is a very nice demonstration of how there's various steps in which we can mindfully deal with difficult emotions. The first is the most important. Turn towards your emotions with acceptance. Move into your emotions. What we mostly do is we move away. We suppress it. We back off. We push it under the carpet. So let us move towards the emotion. Let us, come closer. Identify and label the emotion. Name it. Accept your emotions. There is no resistance, no thinking of, oh, why has this come? They should not be there. Let it be there, without any resistance. Most important, realize the impermanence. As I said, the lifespan. Emotions are not there for the whole day or for the whole week or something. They come and go. So we realize this, inquire and investigate. Now, inquiry is, I'll talk about it in a RAIN method. Inquiry is that, of course, what are the triggers and how I can, learn from it. But more important, investigate where in the body these feelings are there. And let go of the need to control your emotions. We don't have to, kind of control the emotions or make it go this way or that way. Okay, whatever is happening, we accept it. Next, please. In fact, and as Pema Chodron, who's a Buddhist nun and teacher who has a beautiful insights about mindfulness, very practical. May you have the courage to go to places that scare you. So these are the places that scare us, these emotions, these dark emotions. But once we, go towards them, approach them, we can see that a kind of emotional alchemy can occur. And these very, feelings can help us overcome it. Next, please. And in fact, Steve Taylor talks about the 3 stages of transformation, which we have kind of dealt with. acknowledgement, which is, so important. Acknowledge that yes, whatever is there, thoughts, feelings, it is there. I may not like it, but it's there. I have to accept that it is there. Exploration, what are the sensations? Don't shy away from exploring. At the end of our exploration, very often we see that the sensations, emotions, and thoughts are just raw sensations, and most of this labeling of bad, unpleasant, good is by our thoughts and the stories. And the most important, of course, is accept it, allow it, and don't resist it. Next, please. And as we are coming towards the close, I'll take just a couple of minutes to talk about rain, and we can do a small, 1 minute kind of meditation. This rain method was given by Joseph Goldstein and Tara Brach, who are all mindfulness experts. And the acronym is recognize R, recognize that the emotion is present, accept the emotion, A, don't resist it, investigate, a felt investigation. Most of the times when we feel it, it will be probably somewhere a constricting feeling in the neck, or maybe somewhere in the belly, or even in the chest. So we stay with it as mindfully as possible. And N is non identification. We just give some space to it so that it can come and go. So if you can just maybe take a few seconds, and maybe you can close or open your eyes and visualize some strong emotion which may have occurred maybe today or yesterday or a few days ago. Maybe some feeling of fear or anxiety. So we first recognize, yes, this feeling is there. There is this fear or anxiety. So it is there. Accept it. Don't resist. Why is this fear? No. It is there, and I accept it for whatever it is. Investigate. If you take a few seconds, maybe once you practice at home also, you can feel, where does this anxiety, where is this fear in my body? Initially, we may feel that it is all over the body. But once we sit, we can see it will be somewhere, maybe a uncomfortable feeling in the stomach, a tightening of the stomach or tightening of the chest, somewhere in the neck. Stay with it. Drop the story. No, don't think about why it happened. No mental exercise. Just mindfully be aware. And at the end, non identification. Just by the process of accepting, staying with it, we can see that there is some space created, and these emotions can come and go. Next, please. So I'll just, now I'm coming towards the end, couple of slides. So a small but very brilliant poem by Jeff Foster, When You Stop Running Away. If you sit just long enough with sadness, fear, or longing, or some strange energy or urge you can't even name, if you sit in a place of no hope and no expectation, if you open your heart wide in meditation, the sadness eventually softens. The fear becomes intimate, its imagined edges and boundaries dissolving into the vastness, and it reveals its deep intelligence and benevolent nature. For at the core of everything we run from is everything we long for. But we'll never know if we keep running. So, the heart of mindfulness and emotional intelligence is right at the core of everything that we are running from is everything, that peace, that stillness which we are longing for. And we just have to take that first step of moving towards it rather than, running away from it. Next, please. So another small poem by Rumi. Oh, this was so many years ago. This being human is a guest house. Every morning a new arrival. A joy, a depression, a meanness. Some momentary awareness comes as an unexpected visitor. Welcome and entertain them all. The dark thought, the shame, the malice, meet them at the door laughing and invite them in. Be grateful for whoever comes, because each has been sent as a guide from beyond. Whatever is coming, we welcome it and we allow it to stay and go. And ladies and gentlemen, while ending, I'll just share the last slide. Can I have the last slide, please? This has really influenced me. This was by Tugaleva. The most profound personal growth does not happen while reading a book or meditating on a mat. It happens in the throes of conflict. When you are angry, afraid, frustrated, it happens when you are doing the same old thing and you suddenly realize that you have a choice. So, mindfulness, sitting in mindfulness, being aware of our emotions and habits, this is a choice that we have. And the more we use it, the more we can, be more productive and live a life in a much more beautiful manner. Thank you so much for your kind attention. And if we have time, I'm welcome any questions.
Thank you, Dr. Saroj. It was amazing. I think what Mr. Robert has started in the morning. I think the viewers had a lot of other questions, and we couldn't take it up at that point of time. I think many of those questions which had come up in the first keynote address,
Sure.
you have addressed it very, very, very beautifully, I would say.
Thank you so much, Anna.
A medical doctor talking about emotional intelligence and blending it in the whole of this, anatomical, physiological sciences is amazing, because I think that's how EI is for all. Again and again, I think we are telling our theme is the best
Absolutely.
theme. EI is for all. Emotional intelligence is for all.
Absolutely.
So I think a couple of questions are there, but however, what we would do is we would collate them and send it across to you, and we will like to have one master session from you too, and then I think they will spend good time in understanding. Many questions will be around diseases and overcoming these diseases, healthy practices, definitely.
Absolutely.
So thank you so much. Thank you so much. It is a wonderful, wonderful.
Thank you again for inviting me and giving this chance.
Thank you, sir.
And
Thank
so
you.
far, it's been such a lovely, it's a very, it's a kind of eye opener for me also to learn so much about it.
Yes.
And in fact, there was recently, I attended one online session about mindfulness health summit. It is so important, especially in this corona time, when doctors and, medical professionals, paramedics are facing such a tough time. It's so important for us to be mindful also.
Absolutely.
And that was addressed there.
Absolutely.
Take one quick question. It's from Robin. How did you get involved in EI, please, Dr. Saroj?
Yeah. So the thing is, this happened many years ago. And there was some, some events had happened. Some, I would say, some tragic events had happened, which wanted me to explore deeper into what is, the truth behind things and all that. So then I went deeply. I met a lot of people, attended many retreats and all, and I was doing a lot of meditation and, kind of mindfulness. So I gained a lot of clarity from that. But what I also realized at that time, so mine was initially, it started as a kind of a spiritual exploration. But what I also understood, that even if you don't want to have a, kind of a spiritual insight, but you just want to be more aware of yourself and have a more harmonious relationship with your colleagues, with your family, mindfulness is such an important tool. And also, as I said, most of our diseases, in fact, you'll be surprised that 70 to 80%, not only of our gastro diseases, but even cardio, neuro, because I have colleagues all over, there is some overlay of stress and anxiety. And for that mindfulness, even if you don't want to do really meditation or anything, you just call it as mindfulness, and being aware of your thoughts and feelings, it helps a lot. So this was what prompted me to, kind of getting more involved and, taking seminars and workshops for people who just wanted maybe to have a more either well-being or to get rid of their diseases. And I found it very useful.
Thank you
so much, Dr. Saroj.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Our gratitude to you, sir. This is a token of appreciation from Emotional Analytics and MEQ Academy for sharing your insights today with all of us.
Thank you so much.
We have also planted a tree on your name.
Wow, that's so.
We have planted it in the greatest Himalayas in the Uttarakhand. So this has been from our sponsor, the GAP Digital Partner.
Okay. I look forward to getting it.
Yeah, we will send you across all this to you. You can track your tree also. Yes, sir. Thank you.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Wonderful.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much once again.
My pleasure.